All right. Hi, Midvale friends. My name is Pastor Katie, and I am going to be talking now with one of our social ministry committee members, Greg Lampy, and we're going to talk about Midvale's Second Chance Apartment Project, where we help a formerly homeless family transition into long-term stable housing. Hi, Greg. How are you doing?
I'm fine, Pastor Katie. Thank you. How are you this morning?
I'm doing really well. Yeah, it's good to talk with you about this.
Thank you.
My first question for you is, can you tell us about the purpose of the Second Chance Apartment Project?
Well, the purpose really is to help a homeless family find stable housing. The beauty of this program is it really is geared one family at a time. And as a former director of the Road Home told me, you can invest a lot of money in a few people or a lot of money in one family. And the Second Chance Apartment Project really is about helping one family get on their feet over a 2-year period where, the congregation in this case covers the living expenses, actually the rent, the rent for living in the house. And then the family also then is working, and that's one of the requirements. At least one member of the household has to be working, and they pay for their daily living expenses, and then they also save money and also pay off any existing debt in that 2-year period. And after 2 years, they graduate from the program and into their own stable housing. So this is really a 2-year commitment, but it also means a lifelong change, hopefully, for the family. And that's really the purpose, is to provide stable housing going forward for a formerly homeless family, keep them out of shelter and in a stable living environment.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah.
And that's a really good description of what this program does. And we've had a chance to see it happen a few times through Midvale, and I know you've had an even longer history with it. How did Midvale get involved in supporting this project?
Well, it's really a great story about Midvale because in 2004, I was on the Village of Sherwood Hills Board of Trustees. And in March of 2004, Homeless No More declaration came out, Homeless No More in Dane County, and made a big splash. And as a board member, I brought that to our board, and all they wanted to do was vote in support of it. And I challenged us to get more involved in homelessness and determine how we might help make a difference. Out of that meeting, to make a long story short, came the Second Chance Apartment Project for the Village of Sherwood Hills, which was the first municipality ever in the United States to have the project. But we couldn't move the project forward. We hit a real roadblock. And it was that a village municipality cannot sign a lease for an apartment. So I thought of Midvale. And I approached Pastor Lowenhagen at the time and sat down with him. And I'll never forget that meeting, because without Midvale, I don't think we could have gone forward. I kind of had no other ideas at that point. Pastor Lowenhagen then went to the church council, and the church council in its wisdom said yes. So for the next 3 projects, from 2004 through 2009, Midvale was a collaborating partner with the Village of Sherwood Hills in sponsoring our 3 projects. So that's how Midvale got involved early. And then after the Wakefield house became available and the social ministry committee was thinking about what we might do, I think it was me that mentioned, well, let's think about the Second Chance Apartment Project. Jen Duvall, at the time, the chair of that committee, said, yeah, let's think about that. Went to the council, went to the church as a whole to talk about the idea, and the church rallied and got behind the project. So we've been doing this since 2013 as a congregation, and this is, as you know, our 5th project, and I'm really excited about having a 5th project, and so very thankful and grateful to our congregation for moving forward with the money piece particularly, but also household items and other things that have had to come forward as part of the project. So that's sort of the history of the project, but it's been a long time. 2004, 16 years of engagement.
Yeah.
And again, just tremendous support from the congregation and the council over the years for this project.
It's amazing to go through the steps of what it takes and how God works
Yes.
in such roundabout ways. I'm so happy that it worked out. And I'm
Yeah.
so happy that we've been able to be involved in this project. It's meant a lot to everybody at Midvale. Thanks for your leadership, Greg.
Oh, you're very welcome.
That leads me to a special question, and that is, can you share what it was like this last time when you helped that current family move in? Can you share what that meant to them, what this opportunity meant to them?
Yeah, yes, of course. It was wonderful, and I wish everyone in our congregation could experience the. I don't want to overstate this, but the euphoria of a family moving into our house, our Wakefield house. This family, particularly, had had a really rough go of it. Mom, dad, two children with special needs, very highly specialized needs, needing not only medical care needs, but just emotional, social needs. And we were there to provide a stable home for them. So I'll never forget the meeting with the mom and dad, where they were just expressing such gratitude to us for providing them with this home and what that meant after being in shelter, particularly for their children. And sometimes we forget about this piece. And, Second Chance is really limited to only families. And the Road Home, of course, has dedicated its mission to families. But families include children, in this case, special needs children. And so we were right there with, of course, God's help and guidance and support. The Spirit really moved us. We were able to get the house in really good shape with the congregation's help, not only physical labor, but also financial help. We did some major upgrades to make sure the family could be comfortable. For example, we put in a new furnace and some new insulation and so on that the congregation supported. And so the reaction was just wonderful. And the dad, particularly because he was working so hard, was so excited to be able to get above their debt and get ahead of it and have a stable environment for those children. Can you imagine having special needs in a shelter environment? It's really hard to imagine that. I just can't. But this family, again, was so deeply grateful and has continued to be grateful, wonderful tenants, and has gone through this program in just sort of the role model for the program, right? Because they've done everything right and kept us informed of their needs. And so, yeah, so it was just, you just can't imagine the joy. It's just hard to imagine. I'll never forget, if I might just digress for one moment, the second family that the Village of Shorewood Hills brought in had a young son, and I was there to watch this. The son walked into the apartment, in this case, laid on the floor with their arms outstretched, saying, "Oh my God, is this our home?" And it just makes you feel like this is the most wonderful thing you can do for a family that's homeless and in need of stable housing, and through no fault of their own, usually due to circumstances well beyond their control, end up in a shelter situation and deserve, and need a chance to get on their feet. And that's what this program does in a very real way.
Yeah, thank you, Greg, for sharing that close experience that you've had in shepherding these families into this long-term stable housing. And I think what I'm hearing you express is that they have a sense of gratitude, but that you have, and we as Midvale have a sense of gratitude in being a part of God's mission to love, bless, and shelter people in this life. So thank you, Greg, for sharing this with us. We also want to thank all of you on the social ministry committee, and we want to thank everybody at Midvale for your support of this important program for 4 families over the last 8 years. We are now seeking funding to support our 5th family, We are hoping to raise $12,000 by the end of September, which will cover the cost for 2 years of this family's expenses. You can donate if you're interested now online at midvalelutheran.org. You can mail in a check, and if you do that, please designate it to the Second Chance Apartment Project. So thank you everybody for your support, and thank you for considering this opportunity. Thanks a lot for sharing this time with me today, Greg.
You're welcome. Thank you, Pastor Katie, for the opportunity.
Yep, you bet.